If you enjoy our podcast, please like and subscribe and consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal to help us bring you more content like this. You can find this episode and all of our podcasts on the Albuquerque Journal website, abqjournal.com, as well as YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. See the show notes for a discount code on a digital subscription. Thank you for supporting the Albuquerque Journal, New Mexico's leading news.
Hello and welcome to another episode of What's Bugging You. I'm your host, Chesley Elkins. This is my co-host.
I'm Brian Victor, and we're glad to be here with two special guests today. And before we get to them, a word from our sponsor.
Preventive Pest Control. Taking care of the pests you see and the ones you don't see. Preventive Pest Control. It's as simple as that.
Pleased to have back Mike Swanson with us.
Thank you for having me. It's always a joy and an honor.
And who's at your close right there?
This is the esteemed Joshua Ems, pest control technician, superior and extraordinaire.
Well,
Glad to be here.
It's what's cool thing about our company is we have probably the most amount of associate certified entomologists in the state, and there's 4 of them right here.
I think that's right.
Last episode we had Dominic, who's also one of them. So I think there's a handful in the state.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the roster in the last couple of years, but I'm sure it's less than 20, maybe.
Yeah, I think when we originally got ours, there was 6. I think. Right?
Yeah, it was pretty small.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at one time I think we had 9 or 10. The most, the vast majority of the state. Yeah.
He's better than us, so he beat us by 1 point on the test.
He did. By far the smartest, except for Mike.
I don't know.
He did graduate from
Cibola High School.
APS. And so I was going to say University of Hawaii, but it's BYU Hawaii.
BYU Hawaii.
Yeah, so.
Nice.
Degree in history, and here I am killing bugs.
Yeah. Their history.
Well, they do have a long history on the planet.
They do.
So how long you been killing bugs for, Josh?
22 years, I think, is what it is now. I started in 04.
Okay.
Not counting as an amateur before you got the job.
Right. I mean, my brothers and my cousin and I, who have all worked for Preventive, we were killing bugs in the backyard when we were kids. So.
Nice.
Mike, you have a degree in biology from UNM, right?
That's right. Yep, and it is most of what you learn about biology in college has nothing to do with pest control, but it does at least kind of give you a background, kind of understanding of the systems and how they all interact.
Between your 2 degrees, we might have a pretty good...
Yeah, we'll get a third person in a related field, and I think we'll have a complete...
Well, it's no question the weather's been pretty mild all year, and and spring is it's basically feels like summer sometimes this year, and so
90 degrees in March.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah. And the next day it was 50 again, and then back to 90 or 80. So, what with that weather and stuff, what some things we could be expecting to see around Albuquerque and?
Well, it's roach season. End of February, going into March, the roaches come out, and if you live anywhere in the eastern part of the city, especially up in the heights, you're going to see roaches around. If you go on a walk around your neighborhood in the evening, or you spend any time in your yard, by now you're going to see paradomestic roaches, the oriental mostly, and Turkestan roaches hanging out.
Over on the west side, we get the Turkestan roaches as well. That used to be just basically just the east side had them, but we got them over there now.
Yeah, Josh is an expert on the west side. I think of his 20 years in pest control, he's probably done 19 of them serving the west side.
Yeah, I've been all over the place, but most of it's been on the west side.
Yeah, the roaches
I
are
sprayed
rare.
our first house in Santa Fe.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
That was a milestone, yeah. That was quite a long time ago. So the roaches, that's one of the things this time of year we always get the most calls about, too, are people freaking out about the roaches coming inside. And, of course, we always have to parse that when we get these calls in to the office asking about roaches, because you want to determine, are they dealing with these types of roaches that are what we call paradomestic, that live outside, versus are you seeing them in your kitchen, on the counters, that sort of thing, and figure out if that's going to be German roaches, which were entirely different. We can talk about those during a different show. But, yeah, with the paradomestic roaches, luckily, doing a good broadcast treatment and a perimeter treatment around your house really is a great way to keep them at bay. And so they're not a difficult species to keep under control.
Yeah, usually if you do that and kind of treat their harborage areas, dark areas under mulch beds and that type of stuff, or
And just generally keeping your yard maintained, keep those leaf piles up. Pine needles are a big thing that they'll nest under. Don't leave stuff laying out in the yard like boards and things like that. They will congregate under those as well.
Yeah, which is standard recommendation for pretty much all the pests that we deal with.
I know we've had a pretty big influx lately of calls in the office for ants as well. I mean, ants. I don't know if ants really ever completely slowed down this year because it was such a mild winter.
Yeah.
But now it's
They
really
Slightly
down,
slowed, but they did not go away.
Yeah, they didn't go away. And they
It was a
never
mild
do.
winter too.
yeah. So they're picking up pretty good now, and
I remember working on call Christmas Eve and having calls for ants. Someone preparing Christmas Eve dinner, and
Yeah.
gotta take care of those ants.
Aunts and uncles on Christmas Eve.
Ants and uncles.
we had you work Christmas Eve.
Yeah. We used to do that
sorry.
every once. We had like one guy
years
volunteer.
ago.
Yeah, years ago.
Oh.
We had one guy volunteer to kind of just be on call Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I get odorous house ants. That's the main species, of course, that we always deal with. No matter where you are in Albuquerque, the odorous house ants. People call them sugar ants or piss ants. It's all pretty much the same thing. It's a odorous house ant, and I have them like clockwork coming in the bathroom because there's like trumpet vines and a lot of vegetation around the outside of that exterior wall. And so 2 days ago, I started seeing a line of odorous house ants coming through the window and down in the shower.
And so now how he's taking care of them? He's moving.
Adios.
he literally is. He bought another house, right?
Yeah, but the ants, once you understand, they seem very overwhelming because you can get overrun, especially when it's in your kitchen and you're freaking out, and one day you open up the cabinet and there's maybe like a sugar container or a jar of honey or something, and it's covered with ants and there's a line of them going down the pantry and then behind the shelves or something, and you start freaking out and you want to throw away all your food or whatever. It can be kind of a little traumatic if you're not used to it.
And just a lot of people think, oh, I'll just clean up all the stuff and that'll get rid of them. Well, you're seeing a symptom of the problem. The ants are there. You're only seeing them because you have stuff left out. So you really want to find the source and eliminate the source. And we're at Preventive, we're really good at that. I've seen the evolution of it in our company, and the ants evolving along with it.
Yeah, I can think back to a time when I felt like the ants definitely had the upper hand over us at times, and so yeah, we've
The upper tarsus.
Yeah, absolutely. We've tried to refine our skills and our processes for taking care of them. I'm pretty proud of what we've done with them.
He graduated in biology. He understands what we're doing.
So speaking of that, if for the casual listener, what would be something different about odorous house ants versus some of the other ants that are out there that makes them maybe a little more prolific and hard to deal with?
Well, two things. In Albuquerque, it's sheer numbers. No matter where you find them, they form what we call super colonies, where there are multiple colonies that interact with each other and they're not competitive. And then that makes it difficult. So if you think about, okay, I've got ants inside my house, I'm going to go look around the exterior perimeter of the house, which is a good place to look for them, around the foundation line, and you find a pocket of them and you treat them with, whatever appropriate insecticide, and you think, okay, I've solved it. There's still going to be some out in the yard underneath the rocks or along the fence line or in another part of the exterior of the house. So that's tricky, is just the sheer number, but also the fact they're called what we call a tramp ant, or a nomadic species, where they don't have a centralized, not like a lot of ants will dig a hole and they'll live in a colony in the hole and they have the ant mound and that's where they live for years and years. With odorous house ants, they'll move, every few weeks, month or two during the summer, looking for food sources, looking for places to rear their young, water, etc. And so there's not just a place where they live, they're constantly moving. And just between those two factors alone makes them by far the most difficult one that we have to deal with.
And one of the reasons they call them odorous house ants is they have a very distinct odor to them. And
Yeah.
most people probably wouldn't notice it unless you're doing pest control. I can smell odorous house ants right now.
If you get into them, they smell, and you don't even have, we always say, pick them up, smash them, and see what they smell like.
You smell it in their colonies.
But you just get into them and know you can smell them.
Just roll around in them.
Yeah, well, if you want to do that. But if you're out doing yard work or something and you pop into a nest, you're going to notice them.
Lift up like a rock or a piece of flagstone.
Or you're getting around your tree, trying to dig out a little bit around the tree, and they come up, you smell them.
Yeah, that odor is formic acid, if I remember correctly, and it's a
Formic
defense
acid, yes.
mechanism that's particular to that kind of family of ants.
Right. So if somebody's a do-it-yourselfer and they've got some ants in their house, what do you usually want to tell them if they're interested in doing it themselves?
Find the nest and eliminate the nest. And you save yourself a lot of headache and call Preventive Pest Control. But
That's the easy answer.
that's
right?
the easy answer. But yeah, you can do it.
What are some things that they shouldn't do if they're trying to take care of it? For themselves?
Anything you buy over the counter, unless you're applying it to a direct nest, don't do it.
Okay. So don't just spray down your
No,
your
that can actually
counters and
cause them to
stuff like
spread
that.
their colonies and make your problem
Right.
a lot worse.
Yeah, specifically over-the-counter insecticides that are largely pyrethroids or a mix
Yeah.
of different pyrethroids, which are
We're
repellent
great, we're
and
great
quick
for
killing.
roaches, but not
Yeah,
for
I would
ants.
say, I mean, there are some over-the-counter baits that probably aren't going to
Yep.
cause
Yeah.
as many problems. And
Yeah.
if it ends up being something that's not odorous house ants, as a small colony, sometimes you can knock them out with that. You might get lucky.
Yeah.
So that's usually what I'll tell people. If you have luck with the baits, consider yourself lucky. Good to go. If not, then don't go start spraying stuff because that's
Yeah.
going to make them harder
Otherwise,
to get rid of in the long run.
using a bait on an odorous house ant colony is like taking and throwing a rock at a nuclear
Exactly.
warhead. It's not going to do you much good.
How about spiders? I usually know it's springtime around my house when my wife starts telling me, "We get our house sprayed. There's spiders," and I always say, "They're fine, honey. They're fine." But there's a lot of spiders out right now. I've heard that from a lot of people.
Yep, I always kind of gauge the last few years. I've been able to kind of gauge the people freaking out about what pests are coming out by the Albuquerque subreddit. Everybody's like, "What is this? Is this a brown recluse? Is this a black widow?"
I say yes. All of it is.
Of course, they're usually wolf spiders.
Yeah.
But yeah, so black widows are the only thing we have that are really dangerous.
Here in a few weeks, wolf spiders are real fun at nighttime though, because they have all their babies attached to their back, and you step on them or something. All of a sudden, they just scatter
And
everywhere.
you can, if you go out with the flashlight, you can the flashlight will catch their little eye shine, so you can see their eyes looking back at you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, there are a lot of spiders that we deal with in the house. And if it's not a black widow in my house, I usually just pick it up with my hand and take it outside and you just let them move on. Or if they're in a part of the house that you don't worry about, then I just let them be because they're beneficial. But of course, a lot of people are not cool with that.
Yep.
And so we're here to give that advice or that help if they need it.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. In a previous episode, we talked some about snakes, and it's kind of similar. Snakes and spiders, they both will hunt other insects that actually may be more of a pest, and just depends on what your tolerance is for snakes and
A
spiders.
relative tolerance, yeah.
And for the common person, we associate snakes being possibly venomous, as well as some spiders, the black widows or brown recluses, which we don't have as much here, but just the fact that there may be a few of those that are dangerous kind of taints it for the rest of it, and probably lowers our tolerance to be able to say, hey, they'll actually help me out with some of the other bugs. And most people aren't going to wait around for that.
No, and educated people who have been living in Albuquerque for 50 plus years still have no idea what a wolf spider is or whether or not it's going to kill them and their families. So it's like you'd think that a lot of this becomes when you're immersed in in a subject, you think that it becomes public knowledge or just common knowledge, but it's really not.
Well, even black widows. I mean, they're the venomous one, the scary one here, but they're pretty docile. Like where you get in trouble is you don't know their nest there, and you stick your hand in it or something. Somehow.
Yeah, I always if I see someone's got like shoes out on their patio or whatnot, I say bring those in because they will hide in there. And if a spider, they're not likely to bite. I mean, really, they're really not. But if you put your foot in your shoe and there's a spider in there, she's gonna bite. I mean, she's gonna defend herself, and that's the majority, I think, where bites actually happen. And a lot of those even aren't. I don't even know if there's any fatal black widow bites out there.
I think it's been very, very rare.
Yeah.
Yeah, and from my understanding, most adults, there's a better than 60% chance that you won't even have symptoms that will cause you to go to urgent care.
and
but they can. Some people are more reactive, and so the cover your butt advice is go seek medical attention if you get bit by one.
Yeah, personally, even with this knowledge and knowing that in my head, I'm not super comfortable with a spider crawling on me. The only ones that I like to crawl on me are actually the tarantulas.
Yeah.
For some reason, those don't bother me. They're just big enough that I can almost see it as like a furry pet.
The weight is
Yeah,
reassuring.
it is actually. It's more like I don't like when I don't know where it goes.
Yes, I agree with that.
Well, they're bigger, and their chances are, if you're seeing one on your property, it's just moving through.
Yeah.
Right.
It's probably
And they're
in the fall,
slow.
and he's probably just out looking to get some.
Yep.
Yeah, it's on the prowl.
And then he's going to go and die afterwards.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. It's his only chance.
So in springtime too, sometimes people are going to see swarms of bees this time of year, and so obviously they're doing. I think over the last several years, there's been scares of declines of bee population. I think that's caused a lot of people to be more educated on how beneficial and important the bees are. I don't think people freak out on them as much, but at the same time, you don't really want to get
Did you know
stung by
that
bees.
bees kill more people every year than rattlesnakes do?
Is that so? They're advocating for the snakes.
I guess. Well, also that's people who have been treated by rattlesnakes.
I think bees pollinate more stuff than
They
rattlesnakes.
do. They do. But snakes also eat mice.
I wonder
which-
how many
Contract
individual bees there are in New Mexico versus rattlesnakes.
A lot more. And we do have the very rare but the Africanized bees.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, the killer bees.
Yeah, something we found out recently about the bees is that actually the city will connect people to some beekeepers through the 311 service. If you call and you've got a swarm of bees on your house, honestly, probably an exterminator is really not what you want to call for bees. If a beekeeper might be able to come and pick those up and then put them in a place where they're going to do a lot of good and produce some honey and do some good pollinating and stuff like that.
Yeah, I
And
have
be away from your
a
house.
friend who is the curator of entomology at the zoo, and they do a lot of bee relocations and stuff like that, and they'll set them up on the biopark there.
Yeah, I actually
They
looked.
can only do so many though.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's limited space. I almost look forward to those calls now because it's a chance to educate people when we get people calling and asking, hey, we've got all these bees that have shown up on the side of our cafe or whatever, or our school playground, which is a common one we get, and we need somebody to come out immediately because we've got people hanging out there, kids, whatever. And I say, I will be out there to take a look at it, but chances are better than not that they're all going to be gone by the time I get there. And the spring swarms, all they're doing is just flying, they're kind of budding off from the existing colony and they're looking for a new place to make a hive. And generally speaking, especially during the middle of the day, we find them hanging out under the side of cars, picnic benches, playground equipment, the eaves of buildings, just trees, places where they're just kind of spending, catching their breath for a few hours and then they're going to move on. And so that's the best chance for a beekeeper to go and collect that queen and put her into a box and all the rest will follow. And now you've got a new...
It's also, while it may seem very scary, it's actually the time when the bees are the most docile.
Yeah, they're not defensive at all.
defending a hive at all. They're just clinging close to the queen. And basically what I say is try and find a beekeeper or someone to come and collect those bees so they don't end up inside your home. Building organic matter, which is going to build up and really, really mess up the inside of your home.
Yep.
Bees are they're livestock. They're not wild animals. They are livestock. And so if we can get them to someone who can go over and propagate them and get honey out of them, great.
So
Why'd the bee get married? Because he found his honey.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
There's another dad joke on here. I just can't tell it.
So speaking of this spring stuff, we've been getting people calling about some other just random pests that are associated with the warmer weather and the increased moisture and stuff. And clover mites is one that we've been dealing with more recently. Have you been having people ask you about that when you're out in the field?
I mean, people ask about everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So the clover mites are one that we've been talking about, and people freak out about them because they're arachnids, right? They're not insects, and so people make that association with ticks or with spiders, and they think, okay, this thing is going to crawl on my skin.
Bird mites or
scabies, yeah, all these things that are going to have a horrible effect and climb into your brain or in your skin or something and bite you. And clover mites are herbivores; they can't. And if you haven't seen one, they're very tiny, like less than a millimeter in length, and they're very bright, almost like an orangish red color. They're very obvious to see, and they have two very long front legs that almost look like antennas, so people mistake them for a six-legged insect, but they're really arachnids. But really just keeping the moisture down around the immediate side of the outside of your house. You can have a pest control company do a treatment on the lawn if that's necessary. But people start to see those and they freak out about them. One thing that's interesting is their pigmentation kind of stains. So people squash them, they see them, they like squash it on a dresser or on the bed or wherever it may be, or a windowsill, and it'll stain that surface for a while too. So you have to watch out for that.
Yeah, the ironic thing is, the more pretty and luscious we like our yards with the lawns and flowers and plants. It's the same for the insects as well. The clover mites, so they're going to bring moisture, giving shelter, giving food, everything, harborage area they need. So that's why you have spiders. That's why you have a lot of these kind of pests, and we have. Especially start getting rocks and rock beds, you can have harborage areas for these bugs and the ants and stuff. So we like it. So do they.
Exactly.
Oh, and even in xeriscaping kind of creates a little bit of moisture too.
Yeah.
We pull up underneath weed barriers all the time, and there's moisture down there, and that's a lot of favorite hiding place of bugs.
Yeah, you get a lot of earwigs and and
ants,
pill bugs, like the classic
Centipedes.
roly-poly, centipedes. You see millipedes, a lot of millipedes too, especially on the west side. You've been seeing those, I'm sure. So,
although the giant millipedes, they're fairly harmless.
yeah.
Desert millipedes.
Yeah, so talking about cockroaches, I was talking to one of our coworkers about how to get rid of roaches, and he said you just go around your house and start yelling, "There's no more food. All the food is gone. You can leave." So I went home and I tried that, and I stomped around and yelled, "There's no more food. You can get out of here." And I went to bed, and something tapped me on the shoulder. I look over as a cockroach saying, "Hey, boss, we got you some more food."
That's a joke I got. Well, would you rather sit on a patio next to a bee spring swarm, like a swarm of bees, for an afternoon, or treat an infested crawl space for Oriental roaches?
So I think that's easy.
Yeah.
I'd be sitting on the patio and watching the bees.
Yeah, maybe with a Negroni, some.
You see
I'd be taking videos and broadcasting live on Facebook.
see my fat butt with bad knees trying to crawl around a crawl space. I don't know if I could do that right now. So.
Some people are freaked out about bees, man.
That hum of the bees buzzing too. I find that very relaxing.
Oh,
actually.
interesting,
Yeah.
It's nightmares for some people.
I find
And
it relaxing.
there are a fair amount of people who have allergies.
That's true.
It's very, very significant. My cousin Corey, who used to work with us, was very afraid, allergic to bee stings.
Yeah.
Shout out to Corey.
Yeah.
What up, Corey? Yeah, I'd definitely take the afternoon with the bees all day long.
Cool. Well, as always, anybody that has any pests out there that we can help them with, feel free to give us a call, or if you just have questions or want some advice, we're always happy to help people out with that as well. So.
Thanks to our guests again. We appreciate you guys.
Anytime.
Thanks for having us.
We'll see you next time on What's Bugging You.